Okay, so first exam question is worth 2 marks. Okay, if you guys want to have a go at it, feel free to have a go at it. I'm just going to pause there for 30 seconds for you guys to have a go at it, and then I'll go through the answers. Okay, I'm going to go through it now. So water has a high specific heat capacity and a large latent heat of vaporization. Describe the importance of each of these properties to living organisms. Okay, so remember, we've gone through this on our slides, and it's literally the exact wording that I went through. Okay, so high specific heat capacity. What's the importance of a high specific heat capacity? Well, the importance is that it buffers a change in temperature. So a high specific heat capacity allows a buffer and that's all you need to write. That's what a high specific heat capacity of water allows. It allows you to buffer changes in temperature, so your internal enzymes, they don't denature, and anything of that sort, anything sort of negative, it doesn't happen. Okay, large latent heat of vaporization. Again, we went through this. It provides a significant cooling effect. Okay, so it provides a significant cooling effect. That's what it does. And if I show you the mark scheme for this question, so high specific heat capacity buffers changes in temperature. That's exact word to word what the mark scheme says. And large latent heat of vaporization provides a significant cooling effect. So cooling effect is all that you needed, but it provides significant cooling effect. Okay, and you could have put e.g. sweat, for example. Okay, because it's the amount of energy that is required to change water from a liquid into a gas. And the example that you would know is sweat, because that's the example that we have gone through. Okay, next question, it says explain 5 properties that make water important for organisms. So this is a direct reference to what the specification says and what we have covered in today's lesson. So the first property that we looked at was that water is a metabolite. Okay, so that's what we're going to state. So first property that we looked at is that water is a metabolite. And what does that mean? What is a metabolite? It is involved in many reactions such as condensation and hydrolysis. Okay, so water is a metabolite. What was the second property that we looked at? The second property that we looked at was that it was a solvent. Okay, so it's a solvent, allowing many sort of chemical reactions to occur. Which allows dissolving, therefore easy transport, and many chemical reactions. Okay, third property, the third one, which we looked at, we said that it has a high specific heat capacity to allow buffer in temperature. So high specific heat capacity to buffer changes in temperature. And because it's 5 marks, we need 5 points. So the fourth property which we looked at was that it has a large latent heat, specific latent heat of vaporization. So high and what does this mean? It provides a significant cooling effect. Okay, and then finally, so we've listed 4 points. Fifth point was the cohesion tension. So it has cohesion between sort of molecules of water. So it can provide a continuous column of water. Okay, so it has providing a continuous column. Okay, so that's how I would have answered this question. Now, if I show you the marks, it's 5 marks. I've listed 5 points. So, what is a metabolite? Which we had in condensation, hydrolysis, photosynthesis, respiration reactions. It is a solvent, so reactions can occur, or it can be used for transport of substances, which you could have also had. High specific heat capacity, so buffers changes in temperature. Just learn that statement because that's always going to be on a mark scheme. Large latent heat of vaporization, so provides a significant cooling effect, which we had. And then finally, cohesion, so supports a column of water. We said continuous column of water. You could have also had cohesion, so produces surface tension, supporting organisms. Okay, so remember we talked about that it can provide a habitat for certain organisms. Okay, so anything like that would have given you full marks. Okay, there were 6 possible marking points. We had the top 5, okay, because that was in the order that we learned them. Okay, the next question, penultimate question that we have is that it says give 2 roles of phosphate ions in cells. Okay, so phosphate ions, we've probably come across this ion the most all the way until now. Phosphate ions is found, give 2 roles. It's found in DNA. It's found in RNA. Actually, I'm going to put ATP over here. Sometimes DNA and RNA come under the same marking point. Okay, so that's all you give 2 roles of phosphate ions in cells. Phosphate ions are found in DNA, and we know what DNA does. And they are also found in ATP. So that's literally all I would write for this question. Okay, so in DNA had in RNA, so it was 2 separate marking points on this mark scheme. ATP, that's the one that we had. You could have also said in phosphorylation, remember when a phosphate group goes and attaches to another compound, making it more reactive. It's also used in phospholipids. We've not actually looked at phospholipids yet, the phospholipid bilayer, but we will come across that in a future topic. Okay, so you could have had anything. You could have had RNA as well. 2 marking points. Very simple question. Literally asking for 2 points. Okay, and then final question, it says explain a property of ions that enable these ions to carry out their role in red blood cells. Okay, so ion. Okay, so we've not sort of gone into ion in deep, but I thought it would be useful having this question as a lot of it's sort of very self-explanatory. So ions, where is it used? It's used in hemoglobin. We know that. And it's used in the transport of oxygen. Okay, so we know that ions are a part of hemoglobin. We know that they are charged. You can have Fe2 plus ions that bind to hemoglobin to allow the transport of oxygen. That's basically what you have to write into a sentence for 2 marks. Okay, so ions, I would say that um, are a component of hemoglobin. Um, their role in red blood cells, okay, and they bind to oxygen to transport it around the body. Okay, that's what I would write for 2 marks. Okay, so ions are a component of hemoglobin, which we know. Their job is to bind to oxygen and they will transport oxygen around the body. So, the first marking point you could have said is charged or polar. You could have said that it's a part of hemoglobin. We said it's a component, which was fine. And then it binds to oxygen, associates or loads oxygen. Again, this is a future topic, but we've also said that, and we said that it transports oxygen as well. Okay, so we said those two. Okay, so that would have been worth 2 marks.